After having dropped Game 1 of the doubleheader, the Mets were looking to come away with a split, which would still give them the series win before flying off to Arizona to continue their road trip. The Mets send Tyler McGill to the mound. He's opposed by the Cardinals' Andre Palante. As always, thank you for taking the time out of your day in advance to watch this video. If you want to support the channel, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. We have Mets-Cardinals Game 2 of the doubleheader, and the rubber game of this 3-game series. Let's get into it. Francisco Lindor leading off the top of the first inning against Andre Palante, and he grounds a first pitch fastball to Brendan Donovan, who's playing second base in this game, tosses over to Alec Burleson at first, and that's the first out of the game. Juan Soto now up, and he pulls a hard ground ball that shoots through the right side into right field for a base hit. One out, runner at first, Pete Alonso up. Palante keeps a fastball at the bottom of the zone, getting Alonso to hit a ground ball right to Nolan Arenado, who throws to Brendan Donovan, covering second for the force out, fires over to Burleson, and that completes the 5-4-3 double play, and that ends the top of the first inning. Tyler McGill on the mound for the Mets in the bottom of the first inning, and after a disappointing Game 1 loss, McGill gives the Mets a quick 1-2-3 inning, getting the Cardinals in order. Lars Nootbaar flies out to Tyrone Taylor in center, Mason Wynn lines out to Luis Angel Acuna at second, and Brendan Donovan flies out to Brandon Nimmo in left to end the first inning. The Mets could certainly use some length in this game from McGill, so that was a good start. Mark Vientos leading off, and he lands a first pitch slider into right field for a leadoff base hit off of Palante. Brandon Nimmo's up next, and Palante gets Nimmo to hit a ground ball to Brendan Donovan, tosses it over to Mason Wynn, covering short, fires over to Burleson, and that completes the 4-6-3 double play. 2 outs. Starling Marte now up. Marte gets a start in right field with Soto at DH in this game, and Marte takes an 0-1 slider and grounds it into right field for a base hit. That brings up Francisco Alvarez. During the at-bat, Marte steals second base, his third stolen base of the year. Palante falls behind Alvarez and walks him on 4 pitches, so runners are at first and second, 2 outs. Luis Angel Acuna up. He's starting at second base in this game, and he gets jammed on an up-and-in sinker, hitting a ground ball right to Burleson at first, tosses over to Palante, covering, and that retires the side. Nolan Arenado leading off the bottom of the second inning, and he gets an infield single to third base. That brings up Wilson Contreras, who's had a good series thus far, came into the series the hottest Cardinal hitter. McGill keeps him off the bases. He gets him to line out a 1-1 slider right to Brandon Nimmo on left. That's the first out. Alec Burleson now up, and McGill throws a fastball up, but probably wanted it up a bit more. Instead, it was belt high, down the middle. Burleson crushes it to right field, right center field, over the fence. His first home run of the season, 2-run homer. Cardinals now have a 2-0 lead. Yohel Pozo up. He's catching in Game 2. McGill falls behind him, 3 balls, 1 strike. Comes back to get him to pop up to Acuna at second for the second out. Jordan Walker now up. No one on, 2 outs. McGill rears back and gets him looking at a 2-2 fastball, thigh high, down the middle, strike 3. Walker may have been looking for something off speed in that spot because he was completely frozen, and that ends the second inning. So Tyrone Taylor's leading off the top of the third inning, and he takes a 2-1 pitch down and in, a sinker right through the left side for a base hit. That turns over the lineup now at the top of the order for Francisco Lindor. And Lindor gets ahead in the count, 2-0, and then he goes down and gets a slider down and away, lines it over the second baseman's head into right field. Back-to-back hits for the Mets, runners on first and second, no one out. Brings up Juan Soto, and Palante gets Soto to swing at a first pitch, slider down and away. He grounds it right to Brendan Donovan, who tosses to Mason Wynn, who's covering second. That forces out Lindor. Soto was safe at first. So on the fielder's choice, runners on first and third now, 1 out. Pete Alonso up. Alonso's a little bit undisciplined in this at bat. He goes out to 3 pitches inside that would have been balls. The count goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes. He fouls 2 back. The count gets even. Then he chases a slider down out of the zone, but he rips it into left field. That drives home Tyrone Taylor. Soto stops in second. RBI for Alonso. Mets get on the board. Cardinals 2, Mets 1 at this point. Mark Vientos is now up. He works the count to 3 balls, 1 strike, and then he draws a walk. So the bases are now loaded for Brandon Nimmo. But Palante gets Nimmo to strike out, on an up and in fastball, inside off the plate, 2 outs in the inning. Brings up Sterling Marte, 2 outs, bases still loaded. The count goes full. Palante throws him a slider on the outside corner, but Marte rips it into right field. That drives in Soto, drives in Alonso. 2 outs, bases loaded single for Marte, gives the Mets the lead 3-2. Francisco Alvarez is now up. First pitch he swings and misses for strike 1. Next pitch, Marte is going on the pitch. Donovan moves over from second base to cover the bag. Alvarez puts a ground ball right through the vacated hole. Base hit for Alvarez. Vientos scores. RBI for Alvarez. The Mets now have a 4-2 lead. Marte goes to third base on the play. Luis and Acuna up. Runners on the corners. 2 outs. Hits a ball up the middle. Kicks off of Palante. Goes right to Donovan at second, unfortunately, who tosses over to Burleson at first. And that ends the top of the third inning. Victor Scott III leads off the bottom of the third inning, and McGill gets him to chase a 1-2 fastball up and away out of the strike zone for the first out. Lars Nootbaar up next, and McGill couldn't find the plate, walks him on 4 pitches. That brings up Mason Wynn, who works the count full and draws a walk himself. So now back-to-back walks with 1 out in the bottom of the third. That brings up Brendan Donovan, and McGill busts him inside with a 2-2 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He gets Donovan to pull the grounder to Alonso at first for the second out. Runners move up to second and third. 2 outs for Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado hits a 1-2 slider. He grounds it to Vientos at third. Vientos charges in as the runner crosses over in front of him from second. Vientos is throwing on the run across his body. Makes a bad throw. Alonso stretches and tries to scoop the ball, but he's not able to come up with it. Nootbaar scores. Wynn goes to third. Arenado's given a base hit on that. So RBI, base hit for Arenado. Next batter up, Wilson Contreras. Works the count full. He gets a 3-2 sinker at the bottom of the zone, but it's over the plate. Hits a hard ground ball up the middle. Base hit. Wynn scores. Arenado goes to third. Tie game at 4 now. That brings up Alec Burleson. He works the count full as well, but he chases a sinker down and away just out of the zone and grounds it to Acuna at second, who throws over to Alonso, and that ends the third inning. But after 3 innings, we have a 4-4 game. Top of the 4th inning, Palante facing Tyrone Taylor leading off, and Taylor takes a first pitch ball before reaching on an infield single to Donovan at second. That brings up Francisco Lindor. He works the count full, draws a walk. So Juan Soto up, runners on first and second, no one out. But Soto flies out on a 2-1 fastball to Victor Scott II in center field for the first out. Deep enough though that Taylor can tag up, he heads to third. Pete Alonso up next. Lindor steals second, his 3rd stolen base of the year. With first base open, Palante goes to full count versus Alonso, but pitches him carefully, walks him, which loads the bases. The Cardinals immediately go to their bullpen. They bring on rookie Michael McGreevy. McGreevy comes on and strikes out Mark Vientos on 3 straight sweepers at the bottom of the zone for the second out. Brandon Nimmo's now up, 2 outs, bases loaded. McGreevy falls behind him, 2 balls, 1 strike, throws a cutter right over the plate. Nimmo lines it into right center field, but Jordan Walker races over to his right, dives and makes the catch. Big out for the Cardinals. If he's unable to catch that, that's at least 2 runs, maybe 3. Mets load the bases but do not score in the top of the 4th inning. Bottom of the 4th inning, Yohel Pozo leading off for the Cardinals. McGill falls behind him, 2 balls, 1 strike, but he gets him to line out on a sinker inside, right to Lindor at short for the first out. Brings up Jordan Walker, and Walker was frozen on a 2-2 sinker thigh high. Strikes out looking for the second out. Victor Scott II is up, works the count to 3 balls, 1 strike, and draws himself a walk. So it's 2 outs, runner at first. Brings up Lars Nootbaar for the Cardinals. And McGill gets Nootbaar to ground out to Acuna at second, who tosses over to Alonso at first to end the 4th inning. Michael McGreevy still on the mound for the Cardinals. Sterling Marte leading off for the Mets, and he grounds out chasing an 0-2 sweeper off the plate, grounding out to Burleson at first for the first out. Brings up Francisco Alvarez. He works the count full and draws a walk. Luis and Acuna now up, runner at first, 1 out. And McGreevy works him with a mix of sinkers and sweepers, getting him to strike out on a sinker diving in out of the zone for the second out. McGreevy now pitching against Tyrone Taylor. 2 outs. He throws a sinker inside. It rides up and in and hits him. That puts runners on first and second. Francisco Lindor now up, 2 outs, and McGreevy gets Lindor to chase an 0-2 fastball up and away out of the strike zone that retires the side. Tyler McGill strikes out the side in the bottom of the 5th inning with a little hit by pitch action for good measure mixed in. Jose Barrero strikes out on a 1-2 fastball at the top of the zone for the first out. Brendan Donovan was hit by the first pitch to put a runner on first. Nolan Arenado strikes out on an 0-2 fastball on the outside corner for the second out. And then Wilson Contreras strikes out chasing a slider to the dirt. McGill doing his job to keep the Mets in the game. Juan Soto leading off the top of the 6th inning against McGreevy. He works the count full and then flies out to Lars Nootbaar in left for the first out. Pete Alonso up next, no one on, 1 out. He gets ahead of McGreevy 2-0 before grounding an inside sinker to Barrero at short, who fires over to Burleson for the second out. Mark Vientos now up, 2 outs. He falls behind 1 ball, 2 strikes before landing a sweeper at the bottom of the zone, right into center field for a base hit. The first hit off of McGreevy. Brandon Nimmo's now up. Vientos on first, 2 outs. Nimmo gets ahead 2-0. He pulls an inside fastball right to Burleson at first, takes it to the bag himself, and that's the third out. So Max Krenick comes on in this game in relief of Tyler McGill. He's facing Alec Burleson leading off the bottom of the 6th inning. Krenick gets ahead of Burleson, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Burleson fouls off 3 pitches. He works the count to 2-2 before striking out swinging at a curveball down and away, 1 out. Yoho Pozo up next, and he gets a base hit on a fly ball that drops into right field. Runner at first, 1 out. Jordan Walker up for the Cardinals. Krenick gets ahead of Walker, 1 ball, 2 strikes, and then he gets him on a slider down and in to fly out to Jose Azocar in right field, second out of the inning. Brings up Victor Scott II now, 2 outs. Krenick works him down the zone for fastball. He falls behind. He comes back to it again. This time the fastball is a little bit more elevated than he wants. Scott lines it into right center field, hits the wall, scores Pozo, RBI double by Scott. Cardinals now take the lead 5-4. Lars Nootbaar up, runner at second, 2 outs. He gets ahead in the count 2-1. Then he pulls the slider inside, hits it right to Alonso at first, who takes it to the bag himself, and that ends the 6th inning. McGreevy still dealing on the mound for the Cardinals, and he gets the Mets in order. Jose Azocar leading off the top of the 7th inning, hits a slow grounder to third that Arenado charges in, bare hands and fires to Burleson to get the first out. Arenado showing you that he's still an elite defender on that play. Brings up Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Alvarez up, Francisco Alvarez down. Flies out to Jordan Walker in right on a 1-2 sweeper down in the zone. 2 outs. McGreevy has really had great command of that pitch with plenty of bite on it. Brings up Luis Angel Acuna, 2 outs. McGreevy strikes him out on a 1-2 up and in out of the zone sinker. Acuna chases, swings through, 3 up, 3 down. Ryan Stanek now in the game to pitch the bottom of the 7th inning, and Stanek gets Jose Barrero leading off to pop up to Francisco Lindor at short, chasing a high fastball out of the zone for the first out. He leads a slider over the plate, belt high for Brendan Donovan. Stanek is lucky that Donovan only got a bloop single to left field. Runner on first, 1 out. Nolan Arenado now up. Arenado has a good at-bat. He works the count full, but Stanek is able to get him to fly out to Tyrone Taylor in center for the second out. Brings up Wilson Contreras. Stanek gets ahead of him. No balls, 2 strikes. Gets him to swing and miss on a slider down and away out of the strike zone. But Alvarez is unable to block it. The ball goes to the backstop. Contreras goes to first. Is ruled a wild pitch on Stanek. Gives the Cardinals an extra out. Brings up Alec Burleson. Burleson goes after the first pitch he sees. Pops it up. A 99-mile-an-hour fastball at the top of the zone. Right to Lindor at shortstop. That ends the 7th inning. Cardinals are still up by 1. McGreevy gets the Mets 3 up, 3 down. Again in the top of the 8th inning. He gets Tyrone Taylor to pop up to Brendan Donovan at second for the first out. Francisco Lindor works the count to 2-2, but he lines out to Barrero at short for the second out. And then Juan Soto pops up into foul territory, third base side. Arenado comes running over, and he catches it right before the stands, and right before he dives into the safety netting to retire the side. Edwin Diaz comes in the game in the bottom of the 8th inning to try to keep this game where it is and give the Mets a chance to come back in the top of the 9th. Also to give himself an inning of work. Yoel Pozo must have not gotten the memo about Diaz's control issue, especially with first batters. He goes after the first pitch. He chases the pitch up and in, out of the strike zone, but manages to pull into left field for a single, so that worked out in his favor. Brings up Jordan Walker. He too chases the first pitch, lines it to Brandon Nimmo on left for the first out. Brings up Victor Scott the second, but on first, went out. Diaz nibbles all around the plate, but Scott may have helped him, swinging at a couple of those pitches. Ultimately, he gets eaten up swinging and missing on a slider down and away for the second out. Brings up Lars Nootbaar, 2 outs. Diaz falls behind him, 2 balls, 1 strike. He leaves a 2-1 slider knee high, basically down the middle. Nootbaar drives into right field for a double. Pozo goes to third. Cardinals have second and third, 2 outs. Jose Barrero up, falls behind, no balls, 2 strikes before Diaz gets him to ground out to Lindor at short, who fires over to Alonso to end the 8th inning. So some tight rope walking there for Diaz, but he puts up a scoreless 8th. Top of the 9th inning, Mets' last chance. McGreevy still on the mound. He faces Pete Alonso leading off. He goes to a full count before Alonso swings through a sinker, middle of the zone, 1 out. Mark Vientos now up. He works the count to 2-2, but he hits a hard ground ball to Burrow at short, who fires to Burleson for the second out. Brandon Nimmo, the last hope for the Mets, 2 outs, no one on. He jumps on the first pitch he sees, but hits a routine fly ball to left field. Lars Nootbaar makes the catch, and that's the game. So the Mets lose 5-4. Max Kranick picks up the loss. Michael McGreevy, the first-round pick, number 18 overall in the 2021 draft. He picks up the win in his first appearance of the season. He goes 5 2/3, allows no runs on 1 hit, just a line drive single up the middle by Vientos. He walks 1, strikes out 5. The Mets had Palante on the ropes early. They knocked him out of the game. They battered him in 3 1/3 innings, 4 runs on 9 hits. They allowed 4 walks. He only struck out 1. But for the Cardinals' sake, Michael McGreevy not only came in and settled things down, but he dominated. Let's get into the takeaways. The Mets' mayhem player of the game is Starling Marte. Marte went 2 for 3. He had a big base hit early on, drove in 2 runs. So Starling Marte will be this player of the game. Tyler McGill threw 90 pitches. He went 5 innings. He allowed 4 runs on 4 hits. He walked 3 and struck out 6. He got really unlucky in the bottom of the 3rd. That ground ball hit by Arenado should have been the 3rd out. Instead, it gets ruled a base hit. A run scores to make it 4-3. Then Contreras singles after to tie the game. Had Vientos made that play, the Mets had taken a 4-2 lead late in the game and winning this game 4-3. The Mets had chances early on in this game. They grounded into double plays in each of the first 2 innings. The top of the 4th inning, they knocked Palante out. McGreevy came on, bases loaded and 1 out. They got Mark Vientos with the bases loaded to strike out looking. Brandon Nimmo then followed that with a line drive into right center field. Jordan Walker made the catch, diving into right center field, saved at least 2 runs. They had one other opportunity against McGreevy before he turned it to McNasty. Top of the 5th, Francisco Lindor had runners on 1st and 2nd. Game was tied at this point, and he strikes out chasing high and away. The Mets bullpen went a combined 4 innings pitched. They allowed 1 run, but it was a deciding run on 4 hits, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. So the Cardinals win this one 5-4, and they win the series. As much as we'd love to win every series, that's not going to be possible. 2 winnable games. I know it's frustrating. Maybe a different decision here or there, and maybe it's a different outcome. But we have to move on. We start a 3-game series in Arizona, beginning Monday night, before an off day Thursday, and a quick 6-game homestand, starting with the NL Central leading Cubs. My expectation with Winker is that he's going to go on the IL. Brett Beatty will get called up. Beatty can be inserted as a lefty batter in the DH platoon, replacing Winker. With the Diamondbacks starting 3 righties in this series, I fully expect that Beatty's called up to get at least 2 of those 3 starts. The Mets could also use Beatty, but maybe a little bit hesitant since he's dealing with a toe injury, to play third some, and give Vientos either a day off or move him into DH. Vientos' defensive inadequacies are more glaring when he's not hitting like he was last year, and was a big reason why we lost Game 2 of this doubleheader. Monday's game will feature Griffin Cannon, who's 4-1 this season with a 2.61 ERA. He's going up against Ryan Nelson, who's 1-0 with a 5.82 ERA. I'll be back after the game to recap it and provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets.